Hello, my name is Clark Ngo, and I'm gonna walk you through of my programming lab number one. So in this assignment, we were tasked to calculate an area of a circle and triangle. There should be a user prompt, either circle or rectangle, and aside from that, there should be input data validation. Also, we need to output the calculation of area, print the final value to the user. So I'll go ahead and give a run through of the README. The README file is basically a documentation specifying how to use the project, how to run the project, how to copy the project. And we'll start with some software requirements. We need to have C++17, some compilers. In this case, I provided both for Mac and Windows. I'm using a Mac environment. So in any case that you have to install using Windows, I provided an instruction link as well. And to compile and run the project, basically you just need to go to the VS Code where your project is and open that and basically do the run build task, run, and then once you get a compiled C++, this is should be a .out. I think I have to change that. Also, if you're Windows, you can also get this one, and it should be a .exe. Okay, I'll change that later as well. And if you're a Windows file user, please go ahead and do step one to replace the .vs code contents with the windows/.vs code. So I also provided this in my repository. So you will see these two things are for if environment setup. So this is currently for Mac OS. This is the same one, and this is if you're using Windows, just change that to this one. Okay, just change this to this one. Okay, moving on. We discussed about the project requirements already. So it should be in C++. There should be a message prompt, user input, print output, data validation for circle or rectangle. In this case, I use the character C or R, and basically a function to calculate circle, function calculate rectangle, and again, UI requirements is the same. So basically, the program flow would be like this: get user input. First there would be a prompt and get a user input either C or R as char data type. If user is invalid, go back to step one. If it's valid, depends on the choosing. If it's C, go to 4A in this A. If 4B, go to this B. If it's C, it's basically the circle type. So we ask the user input of any number and as a double data type. And if it's that invalid, you just go back to step 4A. If it's valid though, you start calculating the area of the circle using the area function and show the output to the user. On the other hand, if the user chooses R, it will go to B, branch B, and ask the user any number as a double data type. If it's invalid, go back, and after it gets one number, it asks another one again, because the first one would be the length, the second one would be the width, and if it's invalid, go back until you get a valid output. So input, I mean. So next you would calculate the area of the triangle using the area function, and basically you would end the program after that. Okay, so I'll go right ahead and show you the code base here. And as you can see at the very top, we need the iOS stream, iOS string, and IO manipulation. So iOS stream, we use that to enable printing out, and also in this case to use the std fix for precision. String to use a string, IO manip to set precision, again to set your decimal places correctly. We just use a namespace std to avoid retyping std all throughout the code base. So we start with the code block 7 until code block 69. Okay, we start with creating a class shape, and in my design, reason for this is instead of creating a circle or a rectangle, I would just use one class shape, and because calculating the area of the circle only requires one value, which is the radius, and also calculating the value for the area of the rectangle needs two numbers. So I could just overload a function, again, same name area, but different number of parameters. So in that case, I can get away with not using two classes, but just one classes, okay? So the next function I have is just basically a message prompt. Let me know if I need a better name for this one. So in user prompt, message prompt, basically it would run the whole program, as you can see in here, okay? It's just what's included in the int main. So inside of the message prompt basically is, oh sorry, I have to go back again. Let me discuss. So this is a function and this is a public. So meaning all of these methods are accessible publicly. You don't need to have a getter setter functions to invoke some of the functions. So in this function, you have a double return type function, and it also needs a double data type input parameter. I also have a const double pi because I don't want this value to be changed. And whenever this function is called, I would just return the area of the circle calculation, which is this, which is pi times radius squared, which is could be radius times radius. On the other hand, this is the area of the rectangle. Same thing. We have a double as a return type, and now we have the area function name, and we have two double data type parameters, length and width. So just to calculate that, you just need to return length times width. Okay, going back to message prompt. In the message prompt, we declare three variables first. One is char choose. This is for the first input, user input, that they can choose either C or R, as you can see in line number 29. And next is we provision two variables, meaning num1, which we can use for circle, and also for rectangle's length, and also num2, which we can use for rectangle's width. So the first thing what will happen is a user will be prompt, and they ask them to either input C or R, respectively, for circle or rectangle, while the user input is not equal to Z. This is a negation operator, and or it's not equal to R. It will keep doing an infinite loop and show this error to the user, and then we'll keep asking them to input a character until we get a C or an R. Okay. If the user chooses the character C, we would get another message prompt to enter the number for radius. Again, this is for the circle, and we now create another infinite loop, and we have while there's the input is number one, there's no number one input. What would happen is show an error, and again, if the input is wrong, keep clearing that. We need this cin.clear and cin.ignore to clear the buffer for the cin input, or else we'll definitely get a infinite loop on whatever number we type. Okay. Afterwards, we basically compute the area. Again, this is fixed and set precision 2 to have two decimal places, and again output the area of the circle. Okay. Else, if the user chooses R, now we would have, again, a user prompt, enter number for length. Again, this same goes for if there's no input. For num1, keep looping, and error, if it's wrong, clear the input memory, and if it's correct, loop out, and then another C out, print out the enter number for the width. Again, enter number for the width. If it's not correct, keep looping this until you get two number values, so that you can now print the area of the rectangle, again, two decimal places with fixed and set precision 2. Okay. As for the int main, we just need to have a class shape, and again, to instantiate an object, we just need the class name shape and the name of the object that we want, which is my shape. And now my shape would now have a method access to the message.prompt, and it will run this function. Okay. Afterward, this is just for clearer console output with this endl. And that's about it. I'll be posting this video as well, and also the link to the project repository. Now let me run the program for you. First things first, I would need to hit in my Mac is Command Shift B to run build test. And as you can see in my terminal, it would say no, nothing's wrong. I can hit any key to close this one. And now I should just clear this terminal first. And I could access the circled file name. Let's see, the command should be circ, the bash circ. Oh, sorry. I should be first in my project folder, which should be here, module 1. Once I'm there, let me try to compile it first. We're good. And now I can now use the to run this bash with circ underscore rec.out, and now it runs the program. So let's first try to have an invalid input, let's say a number. That's the expected error. Let's say a different character, and let's say a strings. Okay, again. So now let's try to enter a valid one. Let's go for the circle first, and it says enter the number for ranges. Let's try to enter one, or let's do an error first. Let's say a character A. There we go. We get an error. Let's say we go 4.2, and there we have the ranges for the circle. Also, right now, as I'm looking into this, I'll also improve printing out to the user. This is the area for the circle. I'll basically update this code base after this video. Let's try again using for the rectangle. Let me clear this out first. Press R and enter number for length. Let's see if we have the data validation. It does have. Okay, let's now put a number, 10.2021, and let's say for width, let's try the input data validation again. Okay, great, it works. 12.32. And now we would have the area of the rectangle. Again, I would improve this code base to print this is the area for the rectangle. Okay, thank you very much. Please give suggestions on how for me to better document my code, comment my code, use a different class, or basically different ways of implementation. I'm looking forward to your suggestions. Thank you.